myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be. There is still a light that shines on me. Shine until tomorrow, let it be. I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, yeah, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, yeah, let it be, oh, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Yes, I understand that every life must stand on. As we sit alone, I know someday we must go on. Oh, I'm a lucky man to count on both hands the ones I love. Some folks just have one, yeah, others they've got none. Stay with me, oh, let's just breathe. insist on my sins, never gonna let me win. No. Under everything, just another human being. Oh. Yeah, I don't wanna hurt. There's so much in this world to make me bleed. Stay with me, or all I see. Did I say that I need you? Did I say that I want you? Oh, if I didn't, I'm a fool, you see. No one knows this more than me. As I come clean, I wonder every day as I look upon your face. Oh, everything you gave and nothing you would take. Oh, nothing you would take. Everything you gave. Did I say that I need you? Did I say that I want you? Oh, if I didn't, I'm a fool, you see. No one knows this more than me. As I come clean up. Nothing you would take. Everything you gave. Hold me till I die. Meet you on the other side. Just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. Susan, the plans they made put an end to you. I walked out this morning and I wrote down this song. I just can't remember who to send it to. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend. But I always thought that I'd see you again. Won't you look down on me, Jesus? You gotta help me make a stand. You just got to see me through another day. My body's aching and my time is at hand, and I won't make it any other way. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend. But I always thought that I'd see you again. broken my mind to an easy time, my back turned toward the sun. Lord knows when the cold wind blows, it'll turn your head around. Oh, there's hours of time on the telephone line to talk about things to come. Sweet dreams and flying machines in pieces on the ground. Oh, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend. I always thought that I'd see you again. Thought I'd see you one more time again. There's just a few things coming my way this time around. Thought I'd see you, thought I'd see you, fire and rain. Thought I'd see you just one more time again. This next song is actually special to our family, and I just wanted to shout that out. My grandmother sang it for my grandfather and recorded it when he went into the Navy during World War II. And I was going to sing it at their 60th wedding anniversary party, but she passed away first. So today I'm singing it not only because the words are fitting, but in a way to have a little bit of my grandparents here with us for my dad too. This song is called I'll Be Seeing You. I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut trees, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, and everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. All right, come on in and find a seat. We are going to get this show started. Thank you for reflecting with us here. Ooh, that was good. I must be a teacher. Okay, I have many connections with my dad, one of the deepest being music. Some of my earliest memories of him are singing for me and playing his guitar. And I started singing along when I was in the car seat. Eventually, we would harmonize and belt songs out on the way, in long car rides, but especially on the way to Central, because for us, that was a ways from Gresham every day. While he was in his final weeks and days, I would sit with him and sing for hours to keep him company. And he would smile up at me and tell me how much he loved it when I sang and when we sang together. He'd fall asleep and then wake up singing a little bit of the song I was on. It was awesome. One of the songs I sang a lot at the end was this song. It's called Songbird, and that's how we're going to start today. There'll be no crying for you. The sun will be shining, 'cause I feel that when I'm with you, it's all right. I know it's right. And the songbirds keep singing like they know the score. And I love you, I love you, I love you like never before. To you, I would give the world. To you, I'd never be cold, 'cause I feel that when I'm with you, it's all right. I know it's right. And the songbirds keep singing like they know the score. And I love you, I love you, I love you like never before, like never before. before. You guys are hard to look at. But thank you for reflecting with us in some of my dad's favorite songs while everyone arrived. Thank you for coming today and celebrating the life of Steve Halligan, a wonderful man. At this time, I would like to invite up Monsignor Murphy to really kick us off with a prayer.
Thank God for music, as they used to sing, as it soothes my soul. On behalf of our school president, Colin McGinty, welcome to Central Catholic. As we celebrate the life of Steve Halligan, a special thank you to the Halligan family, to the Treblehorns and the Matthews, for bringing this memorial and us together today. Here. No more fitting a place than our gym, built in 1988 at a time when Steve Halligan was on his way to becoming recognized as among the outstanding high school basketball coaches in the state of Oregon. In view of this setting, you might wonder where and how it all came about. Not having to look far, it may have been toward Bend and his father in the formative years. There, his father was easily recognizable in the local community owing to a Bend high school basketball team that had finished second in state, of which he was a participant, so it's easy for his son to catch on. And after his own Bend High School years, for Steve it was Western Oregon, more playing years of his own, and a degree in education. And then, thank God, Father Arthur Dernbach, Central's principal in the 70s, caught his eye. And the rest is history. And we, Central Catholic, owe a special thank you to the Halligan family. If it hadn't been for Terry's commitment to public education and the benefit of PERS, challenging would it have been for the family to allow Steve's commitment these 43 years here and all these days and hours. So we're grateful, which is an understatement. There is a gospel reading that tells the story of a young man who approaches Jesus with the question, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" For some, we take pride in the man wanting to identify Jesus as a teacher, to which Jesus replies, "Keep the commandments." And the young man responds, "I've done that." Leading Jesus to go on, then, "Go sell what you have and give to the poor, and then come and follow me." For many here today, there is gratitude for Steve for having bought into that invitation, selling everything, which could have led in any number of ways. To give to the poor. So here we are. That's a statement about abandonment. The family might have wondered on occasion about the extent of it in view of those days, years, hours. He was unconditional. And many of his students have voiced that, his passion, commitment, serving the many in a manner that few could. So we celebrate that gift and that DNA. And at the same time, we say thank you, Terry and family, for allowing us to honor him today, here, as we offer our prayer and share our time together this day. In Jesus' name, amen.
Death is Nothing at All by Henry Scott Holland. Death is nothing at all. I have only slipped away into the next room. I am I, and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we still are. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak of me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air or solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me. Pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the trace of a shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same that it ever was. There is absolute, unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind? Because I am out of sight? I am but waiting for you. For an interval, somewhere very near. All is well. Nothing is past, nothing is lost. One brief moment, and all will be as it was before. How we shall laugh at the trouble of parting when we meet again.
He is Gone by David Harkins. You can shed tears that he is gone, or you can smile because he has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that he'll come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that he's left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see him, or you can be full of the love you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember only that he is gone, or you can cherish his memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what he'd want. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. We hope today that you take to heart the messages of these readings throughout today's celebration of life and beyond. Steve didn't want us to be somber and sad. He truly wanted us to come together and have a good time in his honor. As we hear next from Steve's family and friends about some of the different aspects of his wonderful life, we truly wish to celebrate our dear friend, his life, his love, his friendship, his impact, and his legacy. At this time, we invite Steve's sisters, Sherry and Vicky, to speak about his early days and what Steve was like as a little brother.
It's like, oh my gosh, what are we doing up here? We are not the speakers in our family. Our brother, anyone who knows him, he is the polished speaker. And so we'll do our best.
Yes.
But I just have to, just witnessing everything today and Father Murphy, we really want you up here with us because I feel like you know Steve as well as we do, except you didn't grow up with him, but that Irish spirit, that Irish fire, is there, whether we want it or not. But good morning to everybody. We're so happy to be here, actually. And I cannot tell you, and I think for Sherry too, how it warms our heart, fills our heart to see all the love that our brother had and the community he developed. Once we all left home, we didn't raise our families together. And so we didn't always see him in his adult life. You know, we knew him as our little brother. We knew he was successful and loved. And thank you so much. So, like I said, as we look around this room, it's very overwhelming, but not expected. Central Catholic has been Steve's and his family's village, community, source of support, love, and strength. Yes, that.
Is that my turn?
Now it's your turn.
Oh, my turn. Okay, we're here to talk about the younger Steve that you guys may not have known so much about. Just saying. Okay, so the younger Steve had quite the competitive temper growing up. Yeah. Oh, you know him. Good. So he had to grow and work his way past that. Maybe. Okay. But he and I always said that the two of us were cursed with that temper, and we both wished that we could handle problems as well as our sister here, calm and cool, collected. We were jealous. When Steve went off to college, met Terry, we saw him changing into a more calm individual.
You're laughing.
You're laughing.
Maybe he wasn't.
And then when he started teaching at Central Catholic, we could see that he had found his way, his place, in his heart. And all of you at Central Catholic, and all of your family have helped our brother learn to deal with his insecurities for the most part and become the wonderful man that we all know. So thank you all for that. Next.
Yeah, so we were trying to think of what to say. You know, there's so many things you take for granted, and it's really hard to put all that into words. Then I came across a poem. It was called Brother, You Are Missed. And the first line of that poem is, a limb has fallen from the family tree. And we have had an awesome family tree and still do, but a limb has fallen. Then I saw a definition of brother, like what a brother could be. It was classified as a noun. And it's a person to share adventure with, someone who always sticks up for you, the only person able to love you, protect you, and bother you all at the same time.
Yeah.
And lastly, a best friend for life. To me, siblings are just a gift. You don't choose them, but they grow up with you. They experience life at home with you. They will fight with you, but at the end of the day, they'll have your back. And you create a family bond together. And for us, that bond was just unbreakable.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we all raised our families apart from each other, but whenever we were together, it was like being home again. You're on. My turn.
Speaking about siblings having each other's back, we do have a story that portrays this. When we were young, there were summer matinees. They had those for the kids out of school in Bend. And so one day, the three of us were walking to the movie theater. And when we heard someone across the street hollering at us. And we didn't know what he was saying or who he was saying it to, so we ignored him. Of course, he didn't like that, so he commenced hollering louder and louder, then we knew that he was hollering at our sister Vicky. And the words weren't very nice that he was saying. So, well, Steve and I weren't about to let him get away with that. You know, that temper thing. So we invited him over. Yes.
Yes, they did.
Vicky kept saying, please don't, please don't, please don't, let it be. But we didn't listen to that. So, but no one talks to our sister like that. Unfortunately for him, he accepted our invite. So Steve and I commenced with a major smackdown. Let's just say he never messed with our sister ever again. And in addition to standing up for his siblings, Steve stood up as well to others that he felt needed help. While in high school, I learned about his protective nature. He told me about a young man who was being bullied at school because of his size and the fact that he didn't look like anybody else in the school. And one day, Steve saw the bullying in the school hallway. He immediately inserted himself into the middle of it. He strongly suggested that the bullies stop and never do it again, or else. Steve and the young man walked off together and became great friends for life, and those guys never messed with him ever again. This was our brother, protective, compassionate, and kind to everyone he's met.
Yeah. So I know you've all, the picture changed. But those are cute pictures. Oh, gosh.
I don't see that.
I know. The pictures that were up there with Steve's face in 3 different stages of his life, you will understand what I'm going to say. He was born with a trademark smile, sparkling eyes, and dimples. You know, the dimples that I think girls always want, but the guys tend to get them. He was so cute. He left the earth. He still had his smile, his sparkling eyes, and his dimples.
Yeah, when he was born, he had those dimples, big eyes. However, his head was about this big around. He was big baby.
He was so big.
I'm telling you. You know how sisters want to carry around their brother? We couldn't. And he was born with a tan. You know how he got tan in the summer? He was really brown. And we thought he was just practicing tanning while in the womb, you know. Anyway, but we had a few questions about his skin tone, though. But you know, he always had the darkest tan in the summer, and I was super jealous. So,
yeah. Steve, Sherry, and I were really fortunate to grow up in the environment that we did. A small town, grandparents and cousins close by, and lots of family friends with kids that we could always play with. It was a much, much simpler time. We just had fun. Most of the time, we made up our own fun. You guys will get this. These are our 2 of our cousins that we grew up with, Michael and Bobby. I still say Bobby. We liked to terrorize the pigs, the chickens, the horses, and the huge bull on our grandfather's house, at our grandparents' house. And we always ran and hid when he figured out what we were doing, too. We would play hide and seek in the barn and play in the bales of hay in the hay loft. If we weren't outside, we were inside playing games. He loved Lincoln Logs and Tinker Toys. And I'm thinking a lot of you probably don't know what those were. And the game of Cootie.
how many remember the game of Cootie?
It was so fun. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. My turn?
Yeah.
Oh, but our most fun our most fun with the cousins and the relatives was gathering up rocks, making a big ammo pile, and then hide in the bushes and chuck rocks at each other. If you got hit, or if you were done with your ammo, you were out. So the last man standing. I don't know how we got out of there without concussions and brain damage. Maybe you did.
Maybe we didn't.
To this day, I don't know how.
But actually, we're going to back up a little bit because Steve was practically born with a ball in his hand. And as soon as he could hold a ball and wear a ball cap, he was never without either. And he could entertain himself for hours with a ball and a bat. And our father's garage has dents in it, probably to this day, proof of using it as a backboard.
Chunk, chunk.
Yeah. And he got really good hitting those rocks.
Yes. I remember very distinctly one day while having batting practice with his trusty bat and rocks. Well, he eventually hit a home run right into the chief of police's car window as his police car was going by. So when he heard the glass break, he dropped the bat, ran into the house, past everyone, and hid in his bedroom. And while we were standing there looking, all of a sudden, the doorbell rings. And Dad opened the door, and there was the chief of police. They talked a while. Then Dad went and got Steve out of his room, brought him out, and have a talk to the chief of police. Steve didn't know that Dad and the chief of police were good friends. But I'll never forget the fear in Steve's face, and Steve didn't know that, yes, fear in his face on that, but he learned a big lesson. And we don't remember exactly what happened after that, but I know there was some maybe licking on there, I don't know. So
Maybe.
Yeah,
We don't know. I just have one more won't do that again lesson that he learned as a small boy. It had to do with our granddad Halligan, a tool, and the value that everything has its place, and it needs to be back in that place. And he apparently had used a tool, put it back, and then went in the house. Next thing we know, our grandfather's tearing through the house, grabs Steve, and they're gone. So he had taken him back to the garage. Apparently he did not put it back in the right spot. And we don't know what happened again. We figure what happened in that garage stayed in that garage.
Yep.
We never heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah.
So to this day, I'm guessing most of you guys know this, that know him well. You would never see anything out of place or disorganized in his life or his yard or his garage, toolbox and work. I imagine most of you that knew him knew that he was pretty particular about that. Goes down from Granddad, Dad, and Steve. Tony?
You
Carly.
too?
Carly.
Carly?
Definitely Carly, yes.
Well,
So-
he and Dad, remember, Carly, they would walk around the neighborhood, and if anybody's garage door was open, they got a grade. You know, an A or a B or a C. Very few got anything, but his garage was an A+. Yeah. One last tribute to our brother relates to his love of music, which Carly touched on. He was amazing, actually. It brought him so much joy. We all played instruments growing up, and we would perform for anybody, the three of us, clarinet, accordion, and violin. Odd combination, but anybody who would listen. But at some point, he decided the clarinet was not for him anymore, and I think it was in college he picked up the guitar. And he taught himself to play, write music, and sing. And he was good at it. A couple of weeks before he passed, he told me he sure wished he could pick up his guitar again and play it. And I know he did, you too. He really missed it. But I like to think that he's playing again. He's leader of the band with a choir of angels surrounding him. I really like that vision. So, brother, you are really missed.
Thank you all.
We thank everybody for loving our brother.
We made it.
You want your box?
Good morning. My name is Chris Myers. I graduated from Central Catholic in 1984. Steve taught me world history in 9th grade and U.S. history in 11th grade. I also played for him on the JV basketball team for 2 seasons. This was a few years before he became the varsity coach, and yes, I basically redshirted on JV, but that's a story for another time. I returned to Central Catholic and worked here throughout the 1990s as an administrator, sometimes social studies teacher, and member of Steve's coaching staff, coaching freshman boys basketball for 6 seasons and JV for 1. Yes, my JV playing career lasted twice as long as my JV coaching career. Thank you, Terry and Carly and Tony, for inviting me to speak today. It's a tremendous honor to be able to talk about this man whom I loved and respected and from whom I learned so much. By the way, I was starting to kind of crumble emotionally while I was listening to Carly sing Fleetwood Mac. That was a little too much. And then I saw this adorable baby right on my sightline in the second row. And I thought, if that baby can hold it together, I know that Steve is sitting in his office just inside the pearly gates with Sister Jerome right now. She's plying him with chewing gum and starting into a long, very likely filthy joke, while Steve tries to shush her so he can hear what we're saying about him. I know Steve's rooting for me to get through this. But he's also saying with that big dimpled grin on his face and that twinkle in his eye, "Don't screw this up, Coach Myers." I'll do my best, Coach. I see in the program that I'm covering the CC years. There are too many CC years for one speech, so I hope many of you will come to the open mic at the luncheon and fill the gaps that I'm leaving here. Mr. Halligan, Coach Halligan, Coach, Steve, to fans from opposing schools and to the occasional aggrieved referee, probably just Halligan. He went by all those names, and in the various roles and relationships those names signified, Steve Halligan had a huge impact on this school, on its students, student athletes, teachers, parents, and alumni. I mean, look at all of you, all of us. He was an absolute giant in this community for 43 years. His tenure spanned more than half of the school's entire history, and he bled cardinal and gold. But more importantly, he was a warm, intense, sparkling person who for 2 full generations of students made high school richer, more memorable, more exciting. Steve was first and always a teacher, and he was a master teacher. He prepared meticulously, he engaged enthusiastically with his topics and his students. He was crystalline in the clarity of his explanations and expectations. He was demanding, but fair, and he made learning fun. He was also, of course, a great coach of football early on, then he was the head coach of baseball and basketball. But in my opinion, his excellence as a coach followed from his outstanding teaching skills, from his dedication to and mastery of teaching and learning. Steve loved history, the details and the big ideas, the lessons of it, the patterns and cycles. Along with his odd couple teaching colleague Bill Sprinkle, Steve was Felix in this pairing, he dominated the teaching of history at Central through the late 70s, 80s, 90s, and well into this century. He chaired the social studies department for so many years that no one seems to be exactly sure how long it was. And he was instrumental in expanding the school's social studies course offerings to include sociology, psychology, and advanced placement offerings in U.S. history and American government and politics. Steve leaned left in his approach to politics and the interpretation of history, but he created a forum in his classroom where opposing viewpoints were given a fair hearing and a full discussion. One of Steve's signature phrases at the end of an explanation or an answer was, "Does that make sense?" And it's such a smart teaching technique to ask students this regularly because it creates a pause in the discussion or lecture or practice. And as a teacher or coach, you can immediately tell from the reactions of your audience, either eager nods or maybe grimacing shrugs or blank stares, whether you can proceed or need to slow down and clarify or go over something again. Steve taught me in the early 80s, so I was casting about trying to find a Gen Y or Gen Z student to give me a perspective on Steve's teaching that was more up to date than my own. Katie Dulcich from the class of '99 wrote to me, quote, "I have memories of him being even-tempered and kind, but also all business," unquote. That even-tempered part surprised me. And then I remembered that Katie has lived in New York City for over 20 years. So she may have a somewhat warped perspective on what it means to be even-tempered. But I wanted something from this century, and this is going to sound like speechwriting nepotism, but my nephew Andrew Myers, class of '18, came in with the most thorough entry. So I'm going to quote him at length. Andrew had Steve for both AP US History, APUSH, and AP Government. He wrote, quote, "What remains with me was his overwhelming passion for his job. Mr. Halligan just cared so much about the content of his courses, the application and importance of his lessons in the real world, and most of all about the success and effort of his students. He cared so much, we had to care. If you didn't, he was going to let you know about it." Daily class generally consisted of yelling, swearing, an extremely insightful look at how our lesson was reflected in the current political atmosphere, and at least one, "This is important, people." God forbid you dozed off, got caught on your phone, or decided to do work for another course. If so, you better have been ready to dodge a flying book, have yourself publicly shamed, or be ejected from class. I, Andrew, was personally on the receiving end of all three. Mr. Halligan wanted us to know how important what we were learning was. He treated us like we were equals and referred to us as future voters. He expected us to recognize the relevance of our lessons in our future roles as citizens. I didn't realize until much later that Mr. Halligan was empowering us to do the necessary research in order to come to our own conclusions and to support what we feel is right. Mr. Halligan wanted us to draw from our past, pay attention to the present, and move towards a better future. He believed our generation has what it takes to create a better world for those who will follow, unquote. When I think of Steve as a teacher and coach and colleague and friend, the word that comes to mind most insistently is energy. I'm not sure where his energy came from, but he seemed to have a surplus of it. Yes, he was serious and intense, but he was also upbeat and gung-ho, relentlessly positive, excited to teach, excited to talk to you, excited to do whatever the next thing was. And he didn't ever seem to slow down. It was like he had inside him a reactor core of energy that was constantly throwing off heat and light. If I may extend this metaphor a little bit, I would say the fuel rods in that core, the things that really powered Steve, were love, intelligence, integrity, competitiveness, charisma, and zeal for learning, his own and his students. Sometimes, especially early in his teaching and coaching career, the core might overheat, and he had to vent out some of that extra heat in different ways. He exercised regularly and with tremendous discipline, which blew off some steam. Outside basketball season, so in the fall and the spring, Steve, after teaching an entire day of classes, would, after the final bell, head down to the coach's locker room, change into his running togs, then pop out the back door of the school like a cork out of a champagne bottle, and head east up Stark at speed on a run. It wasn't a jog. And about a half hour later, he'd be back. And I always wondered, where did he go? And last week, Steve's friend Mark Horrock solved the mystery. Mark, who coached baseball and football before becoming athletic director, told me that in the fall he would join Steve on Fridays for his run. Mark was killing time before coaching in the varsity football game that night, and Steve was killing time before going to cheer on the Rams. They would always go straight up Stark Street to Southeast 60th Avenue on the western shoulder of Mount Tabor, and then come straight back, 4 miles round trip. Mark said that they would always start the run saying, "Let's just run and talk." But because Steve was so competitive, they would invariably end up racing back down Stark Street on the return leg. On warm days in the early fall, Steve would sometimes come back from this run with his shirt off. And that just wasn't fair. I would be out back watching a soccer match. We played some home games back there then. And Steve would come around the corner of the building at the end of his run, tan, fit, glistening, looking like he just came out of a scene from Baywatch. It was pretty hard on the self-esteem and body images of all the other males on campus. So exercise helped Steve burn off some of his extra energy, and sometimes when the core overheated, he just got angry. He mellowed somewhat over the decades, but early on his temper, usually directed at referees or umpires, was legendary. In these moments, he tended to express himself in the most direct, most colorful language imaginable. To use an analogy that is drawn both from U.S. history, which Steve might appreciate, and from the current cultural moment, Steve was the Oppenheimer of the F-bomb. This is where Steve, if he were here, would clear his throat and say, "Chris, I don't want to kill your joke, but that might not be the best analogy, because I didn't really create the F-bomb. I was just very good at delivering it to a specific target. So it might be more historically accurate to say that I was the Leslie Groves or the Curtis LeMay of the F-bomb." Does that make sense? You'll be relieved to know that this was not the main thing Steve taught me about coaching. What he did teach me, and I'm sure many other assistants over the years, and there are a lot of them in this room, about coaching was everything. How to plan a practice down to the minute, how to run a drill, how to talk to teenage athletes and their parents, how to convince kids to play together and work toward a common goal. He showed me and his other assistants that if, as a coach, you're not sweating by the end of the practice, you're not doing it right. You're not putting enough energy into it. And he taught me how to balance a commitment to your work with a commitment to your family. When he was at Central, Steve was professional, focused, masterful at his job, but his family, Terry, Carly, and Tony, came first. And he and they worked together to see each other as much as possible, even during the hurly-burly of the basketball season. It was a marvel to see Steve on the sideline before a game, chewing gum with purpose, game face on, and then turn to talk to Terry and their kids sitting behind the bench with the utmost tenderness and warmth. Steve's excellent and dedicated work as a coach culminated in the Rams state championship run in 1993-94. That magical season saw the convergence of great coaching, great talent, great teamwork, and a little bit of luck, by which I mean avoiding major injuries. Steve kept the team focused, fit, and relaxed, helped them peak at the right time, and was a master tactician and steady hand on the wheel. Having coached, having been coached, having watched my 3 children be coached, I can attest that what Mike Doliak, the starting center on that team, had to say about Steve when we talked last week is basically the highest praise a young athlete can offer to her or his coach. Mike said in his laconic way, "What I remember most about Coach Halligan is that compared to some of the coaches I had over the years, he was just a really normal guy." When I asked Matt Santangelo, the point guard from that team, what his memories were of Steve's coaching, he said, "I remember his kindness and enthusiasm. And I remember one thing he said that I try to use as a coach when I'm coaching my kids. Coach Halligan said, during those times of stress when things get hard," and Matt said that these times of stress were often in the middle of a grueling set of conditioning sprints. During those times of stress, a good teammate doesn't think about themselves, they think about their teammates. Matt continued, "It's more empowering to think about your teammates than about yourself or your opponents. Then you act more from love than from selfishness or hate." And that's as good a summary as any of Steve's impact. He meant so much to so many of us. He dedicated his professional life, a life of service to this school and its students. He showed us through his teaching, his coaching, his family life, his living, and his dying, that love is the most powerful motivator, and that being part of a loving family or a well-taught class or a close-knit team is, separate from winning or losing or any other external measure of success, its own reward. His passion, fueled by love, burned him into our memories. What a gift he was to all of us. Thank you.
Bear with me. I am not a lover of public speaking, which I know is really weird because I spent literally 45 years standing up in front of a classroom full of students every single day, speaking publicly, but I've never actually really liked being the center of attention. I'm more of a wind beneath your wings kind of girl, or maybe like a backup dancer or something. And I'm really good with that, but I really wanted to get up today to speak, partly to honor Steve because he has always meant so much to me, and also because I really wanted to thank everybody here and a lot of people who aren't even here today for this massive cocoon of love that you have placed around my family during these last several months. All of your cards and letters and messages and phone calls and visits and gifts and prayers have been so greatly appreciated. They have lifted us and helped carry us through, what was definitely the hardest thing that we've ever been through as a family. And so I'm going to do my best, even in spite of my feelings about giving speeches in public. So almost exactly 50 years ago, maybe even exactly 50 years ago, I was a freshman in college at Oregon College of Education. And one night I went to a party at the apartment of some upper-class basketball players. And I was greeted at the door by a boy who grabbed my hand and kissed it, and in a really goofy voice said, "How do you do?" And at the time, I might not have thought that that was the smoothest of pickup lines. But then again, I did think he was cute. Yes, Caden, cute. And so I guess it did work. And later that same evening, as I accomplished the goal of pretty much every party goer in college, which was to get from one end of the apartment to the other end by the end of the evening, at some point I made it past Steve's bedroom. And I peeked in there, and he was in there with about 20 people. He was sitting on the edge of his bed, and he was playing his guitar and singing. And I have to admit, that one totally worked. Completely worked. So that night became the beginning of our 50-year-long love story. 50 years of building a happy and fun life together, and almost 50 years of building an amazing family together. And for those 50 years, I will always be eternally grateful. I don't want anybody here to think that Steve or I didn't realize how lucky we were to have the big love that we had. We always knew that not everybody gets that, and I don't think we ever took it for granted, but maybe it's a little bit like living in the state of Oregon, because when you live in the state of Oregon, you are completely surrounded by all this incredible natural beauty, so much so that half the time you don't even really see it. It becomes kind of just your everyday normal. And maybe our love was a little bit like that. To us, it was just everyday and normal, and maybe it didn't always take my breath away the way that it probably should. And so when the cancer started to take things away from Steve and strip him of things that I knew were really valuable to him and really important, and maybe even things that he would have used as his identity, it was terrible. It was scary and so hard and anything but normal. We had to sit by helplessly and watch while he lost so many pieces of himself that we knew he really valued. If you had asked Steve to describe himself, I'm sure there would have been a lot of things that he would have said, some of them good and some of them not so good, but I'm pretty sure somewhere in among them would have been the fact that he was always an athlete. He loved to work out and lift weights and run and stay in shape and play all kinds of games and sports. And so it was really hard when it felt like the universe was saying, no, you don't, can't do that. And another way that I'm pretty sure he would have described himself was as a person who liked to get things done. He always loved doing projects and fixing things and taking care of things and helping other people take care of things. But again, the powers that be just kind of told him, nope, can't do that either. And probably the hardest one, I think Vicki kind of already mentioned this, but probably the hardest one was, I'm sure he would have described himself as a musician. He taught himself to play his guitar, and he loved to sing and play songs and make up songs, and it was particularly heartbreaking to watch him looking longingly at his guitar and wondering if he would ever be able to play it again. And so it was terrible and hard and awful to watch him lose pieces of himself that meant a lot to him. And I don't really quite have the words to explain it, but I'm going to try. There was also something strangely beautiful about it. And what I mean by that is that it seemed like after he was stripped of all these things that he thought he was and all these kind of temporary things, he was stripped down to the very core of who he was and the very essence of his being. And it might surprise some people to know, but the essence of who he was simply love. And the amazing thing to watch was that that part never went away. All the way to the very end, no matter how much he was struggling, no matter how hard it got, that part didn't just not go away, it actually greatly intensified. He became almost obsessed with letting people know how much they meant to him and how much he loved them. And I know that I told you that I lived in a family with big love all the time, and it was my everyday normal. I don't think I ever have gone a day in my life without being told by Steve that I was loved. And I'm not kidding when I say that during these last several months of his illness, he pretty much told me 1,000 times a day how much he loved me, how much he valued me, how blessed he thought he was to have me in his life. And so it made it this odd mixture of beauty and pain at the same time. And it reminded me of this poem that I had found when my dad had died. At the time, I really liked it because it resonated with me, and it made me kind of think about how I would feel about my own mortality. But watching what Steve went through these last several months, this poem took on a whole new meaning. And I might be wrong, but it kind of seemed like maybe it was the meaning of life. So if you want to hear the meaning of life, in my humble opinion, here it is. It's a poem by somebody named Merritt Malloy. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and to old men who wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give to them whatever it is that you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live on in your eyes and not on your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children who need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. So that's my plan, and I'm sticking to it. That's something that Steve and I always said to each other. But my plan is to simply give what's left of him away to anybody who needs it. For the past several years, I've been learning how to do meditation as a way to handle the stress in my life. As much as I loved being a teacher for all those years, the last several years that I did it, it was becoming a pretty stressful job. Any teacher here can attest to that, especially during the COVID years. And so I took up meditation as a way to sort of handle that stress. And also it was my way to pray. And so whenever I would meditate, I would ask God to please let me become a powerful healer. Because there were just so many things in my life that I really, really wanted to help heal. More recently, I wanted to help heal my husband's friend, Jeff. I didn't really know him that well, but I knew that Steve really loved him, and so I wanted to help heal him from his cancer. I wanted to help heal Jordan Horak after he'd been in a terrible accident, and his whole family too, because I knew they had to be really struggling through that. I wanted to heal my friend Cherie because she'd had complications after a surgery that she had. I wanted to help heal my grandchildren from the trauma that they had endured in their young lives, and my children from the heartbreaks that they had suffered. There are just so many things that I wished that I could help to heal. And I didn't really spend very much time until the last couple months thinking about healing myself or Steve because I knew we were okay. And obviously, I didn't become a good enough healer yet to be able to heal Steve's cancer. Believe me, I would have if I could have. But I do think that I really helped him during those last months as he was struggling to understand and accept what was happening to him. Even though I didn't understand or accept what was happening to him, I tried my best to help him through it, and I think I did. At least I hope I did. And I definitely have seen a lot of healing around me in my life and in my family and in my world. So that's why I'm going to continue to just give away as much of the healing love as I can to anybody who needs it. So if any of you are ever struggling or hurting or in pain, you can let me or somebody in my family know, and we will do our best to send a little bit of Steve's healing love to you. Heaven knows we've got enough of it in our family to last probably like 1,000 lifetimes. We can certainly give a bunch of it away and probably not even miss it. On the day that Steve died, Monsignor Murphy showed up at our house. Of course he did. I love that man. He will never know how much. He always had this uncanny way of showing up just when we needed him the most, just when we were having the hardest days, and he wouldn't even realize it. You know, almost like he was connected or something. Maybe he was. But we never actually called him because, you know, he's in his 80s and he maybe shouldn't be driving as much as he does. And we knew that he would come if we called, and we lived kind of far away from him, so we didn't actually call him, but he would just show up anyway. And he did it a bunch of times, and it was always on the days that we were having the hardest time. And he would just lift us just by laughing and reminiscing and talking and praying with us and sharing communion. And then when he would leave, we would always feel 1,000,000 times better. And so, of course, he showed up on the hardest day ever, not knowing what had happened, what had just happened. And one of the things that he said to me on that day that really helped me was in his Father Murphy way. He said, "You know, Terry, Steve's work is not done here yet. He still has all this to finish." And he gestured to my family. And he said, "He's just going to have to do it from a different vantage point." And I'm guessing that from that vantage point, he's probably going to have a little bit more clout. And I thought to myself, that is exactly how I want to think of it. I'm just going to help Steve continue his work, like I always have, and my family will help too. And so even if people don't let us know when they're hurting or when they're struggling, that's okay. I get it. Sometimes when you're having a hard time, you don't even really want, or maybe you can't reach out. You just want to retreat and hide. So if that happens, then we will just channel our best inner Father Murphy, and we will show up anyway. And maybe not in person, but at least in love and prayer. And when we do that, it will be our way to honor Steve and his legacy, and also our way to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of our hearts for simply loving him. So thank you. And now I think we should hear from the most important people to speak today, his actual legacy. So Carly, Tony, Kaya, Caden, little Buddy, come on up here. And for those of you that don't know Elizabeth, she's a big part of the healing that I was just talking about. Beautiful, loving partner for Tony, surrogate mom for Kaya and Caden, tons of healing there. Sister for Carly, that Carly's never had. Auntie for Isaac, and an extra daughter for me and Steve. So Elizabeth, this is pretty much everybody. Okay?
High school basketball is 8-minute quarters, 10-minute halftime. This is 10 minutes compressed into one. Please stand and stretch. 59, 58, 57.
loved how Papa called me his little buddy. I loved how he threw me into the pool with great big twisters. I loved sitting in his lap and playing math games together. I loved listening to him play the guitar and singing along. I loved how he came to all of my games. I loved how he coached me in basketball and baseball and basketball. I love how he and Mimi would tell me stories on the way to school. I loved when we would work out together. I loved eating Papa's Waffle Wednesday breakfast. I loved that he walked me to school. I loved how Papa took me on rides at Disneyland, just two of us, while my family went on scary rides. I loved being Papa's helper and building or working on projects together. But the thing I love most about Papa is just him.
Let's see how this goes. Okay. So, no words will explain how much I'll miss him and all the things he's done for me. Some of my favorite memories are when me and my sister Kaya were little.
No words can explain how much I will miss him and all the things he has done for me. Some of my best memories are when me and my sister, Kaya, were little. We used to just sit and listen to him play guitar for hours. Or when he would pick me and my sister up from school and bring us our favorite snacks. One of my all-time favorite memories with Papa is when I was little, he would help me learn how to ride horses at the ranch. Some of the things I will miss the most are his jokes, his Waffle Wednesday breakfast, and when he would help me with my history homework. He made history fun and my favorite class. This last year was the first year I ever had an activity. I loved how much Papa wanted to come and watch me play volleyball, even when he was sick. He would sit in his wheelchair and yell, "Go May-May," his nickname for me. He also told me, "Carpe diem," whenever I left to go to volleyball. He was by far one of the best people I have ever known.
I can't tell you all how cliche this is about to get, so prepare. I loved Papa. I don't know if my words can commemorate such a wonderful man, and I'm sure you all hear that a lot of these types of things, but it's for a good reason. Papa put up with a lot, from me specifically, and I say that like anything I did or I'm about to bring up was particularly vexing, but bear with me here. I always admired that about him. He let me chew on his cross necklace, even when I was far past teething, and did it purely because I liked the taste, sensation, and chemical reaction of the necklace metal against my various teeth metals. He also let me play Angry Birds in his lap, and never complained when I failed levels spectacularly because of my non-strategic screen tapping habit that stemmed from my want to see the birds do their cool moves. You know what I'm talking about. When the boomerang guy goes like a boomerang, you all know how cool that was. He also never complained when I ate all the M&Ms out of his trail mix, even though that definitely took all the joy out of the snack and left only the salt. This all may seem a bit trivial, especially now in the face of the ultimate oblivion. He did bigger things, of course, things more important to more people. He was great like that. But in times like these are what I think about. The little things he did. Like the ring he used to wear, with what I can only imagine was a mesmerizingly red ruby on it. He was always so in touch with fashion. Or the times he called me Kai Pai. People do often say it's the little things, and for me, yeah, it is the little things. I will always have those memories. I will always have his Julius Caesar pencil holder. And it's not that I'm trying to downplay his greater achievements, but it's that these are what will last for me. These are what will stick with me, and these are some of the things he did that helped shape me. He was my grandfather, and he lived up to the title. He was a very grand man. He was big, not physically, though he was of significant muscle mass. I mean, he had a big presence. His voice was loud and booming in a good way. His eyes were bright. You knew he was there. You just did. I don't think anyone here will ever forget him. It won't be easy anyway, and I might have a shoddy memory at best, but I will make sure that I remember him until the day I join him. Also, side note, I don't think I will ever live up to him in the eyes of our dogs, but I will try. Just know that they are in good hands, Papa, until I see you on the other side. Thank you.
I wouldn't normally read from a manuscript when speaking, but today I'm pretty sure I need to because I'm not sure I'll get through this otherwise. When the family graciously asked me to share some thoughts today, I was really struggling with the idea of how to share how much I thought of Steve and to do justice to my experience of him without dishonoring my own father, as the scriptures say, because it is the contrast of experience that made him very special to me. And so, before I really begin, I will say I have to acknowledge that though infinitely rewarding, parenting is the hardest job known to man, and I believe my parents, like most, did the best they could with what they had. And yet, while parents may do their best, that doesn't mean that we as children get everything that we need. And the reality is that even if you have the best parents possible, most of us will still need to talk about our relationship with our parents in therapy by middle age. And if you think you're the exception to that rule, maybe go ask your spouse or kids and see what they say. Once when I was in my early 20s, my car broke down in a sketchy part of Minneapolis where I'm from. I called my dad to come get me and jump my car. It was a Thursday afternoon, and he was at the post office at the time and was running errands to get ready to go out of town for a long weekend. He said he would come by after he was done at the post office, so I waited and waited. And waited. And he just never came. He never showed up. And he never called to see if I got home okay, just to check on me and make sure I was safe. I'll never understand why that happened, and frankly, I don't think he understands it either. He later was remorseful and apologized when he realized it was one of the reasons I had distanced myself from him. And I've since forgiven him for it, but it damaged my self-worth in a way that only a parent's negligence can. And it kind of epitomized my relationship with my father, my inability to rely on him, and why to this day I'm hesitant to trust that I can rely on anyone at all. Now let me explain the contrast. When I first got to know this family, I marveled at the love that Steve had for his family and how he wasn't afraid to show it, and I saw the same in how Tony is with his girls, and it made me love this family for it. And yet there were times when it also made my heart burn with acute grief and envy because I found myself always asking why my father was not able to love me the same way. It was the type of deep fatherly love I had never known, but then I experienced some of it. Some of you will have heard this story before, so now you have to listen to it again. But I don't know how to honor Steve's memory here today without sharing it because it epitomizes the impact overall that he had on me and the healing he helped bring to me as a person. Back in January of last year, I had been laid off from my job in the tech sector like thousands of others. And as so often happens, I had some car trouble shortly after because cars always know that they're supposed to start having trouble as soon as you can't pay for it. No, if I'm being honest, that isn't entirely true. What actually happened is that I was in a rather Twitter-pated state that day, driving home on Powell Boulevard while daydreaming about his son, and tapped the front driver's side tire into the median rather hard and put a nasty bulge in the tire so that it was no longer safe to drive on, so I had to put the spare on. A couple days later, Steve saw the spare on, and he said he could take the car to Toyota for me and have another tire put on. I told him that the car actually needed 4 new tires anyway, but since I had lost my job, I couldn't quite afford it at the time, and that I would wait and just go have another used tire put on and get by until I found another job. The next day, Steve had quietly snuck my keys out of my purse and taken my car to Toyota, and had 4 brand new tires put on. When Tony told me that's what he did, I was flabbergasted. Tony gave me his car to drive that day to run some errands, and as I was driving back to the house, I saw Steve walking back from Toyota after having dropped my car off. So now you see it, don't you? My own father left me stranded. For what reason, I'll never know. And yet, here this man, out of the kindness of his heart, was walking quite a distance back and forth to take my car in to get fixed as if I was his own daughter. I can't find the words entirely to tell you what that did to my grieving child heart. When Steve got back to the house, fighting back tears, I thanked him sincerely and told him that it was so hard for me to accept help because I learned through painful experiences like the aforementioned that I cannot rely on anyone to take care of me except me. And Steve just looked at me and said, "Well, young lady, if you're gonna be in this family, you're gonna learn to accept help." The story's not about tires. Martin Luther King said that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice. And that's what the story is about. That day, Steve took his hands and bent the arc of the universe toward justice just a little more in my favor, and filled the small but achingly persistent hole of unworthiness in my heart that I think only a father's love could have healed because a father's lack of care put it there. His act of love and kindness was the universe speaking to me, affirming that I was deserving of the type of love that I saw him show to his own children, and proved to me that my father's negligence was not about me. I didn't know until then that that was something I very much needed. I'm so thankful that I had time before he passed to tell him what that meant to me. This story is just one testimony to the type of good and unfathomably kind and loving person that he was. I appear very racially ambiguous, but my mom is black and my dad is white. Even though culturally I very much identify as a black person, I'm a very melanin-challenged member of the black community. In other words, I'm pale. But as I said, I'm from Minnesota, where everyone has chronic and severe vitamin D deficiency due to the cold and lack of sun. And between that and meiosis, I didn't get a lot of pigmentation, and my family never let me forget it. Because, you know, colorism is a whole thing in the black community. And now some of you might be getting uncomfortable and wondering what on earth this has to do with Steve. But you see, it has everything to do with him, because as you know, there's a pool at the house, and Steve loved to sit out at the pool and sunbathe. And I used to be so chagrined at how much darker he was than me every time he would come back in the house from being out there. It was like, no matter how much I sat out there in the sun, I just could not catch up to his tan. And he used to get a kick out of me lamenting over it. My mom kind of looks like Felicia Rashad, who's the mom from The Cosby Show for reference. My mom's about that skin tone anyway, and I'm pretty sure Steve was too. If he wasn't the same shade as my mom, he was close. And I will so miss bantering with him about what right he had to be 30 shades darker than me, an actual black person. If Black Jeopardy was not just a skit on SNL, but a real game, and I had to go head-to-head with Steve on it, he would have slaughtered me. Even though I'm part of the black community and literally work as a DEI director for my company, the man's knowledge of the fight for civil rights and its most important champions absolutely eclipsed mine. And in this lifetime, I would have never caught up to his knowledge in this space any more than his tan. I so enjoyed talking with him about history and learning from him, and I will dearly miss those conversations. His passion in that space only further proved to me that justice has nothing to do with being black or white, but has everything to do with knowing what the right thing is and having the courage to do it. Speaking of courage, whenever we lose a loved one in death, our courage is challenged because we're called upon to do 3 things at minimum. 1, to manage the grief of our loss. 2, to confront and grapple with our own mortality. And 3, figure out how to honor our memory of the person that we love. I want to honor Steve today by thanking him for giving me my life's greatest gift, which is to have found and to love the finest man that I have ever known. If you see pictures of Steve as a young man, you'll see that the resemblance between Steve and Tony is quite uncanny. Now, I recognize that Steve didn't make Tony by himself, and Terry's contribution here is greater than just Tony's handsome patrician nose. But today is Steve's day. Tony is so like his father in that he's a wonderful and most uncommon blend of formidable strength of body and character, sharp intellect, wit, humor, abundant kindness, deep love, vulnerability, music, poetry, and fire. Yes, as you can see, I'm quite smitten, which brings us full circle to the beginning of the story, and now you see exactly how the tire got busted in the first place. I'm so thankful to Steve for helping bring this man into the world and shaping him into who he is today. That gift has made all my trials and tribulations seem like nothing at all, and I would go through them all again to be here with him. I was diagnosed with religious trauma PTSD a couple years ago from being raised in a cult. Yeah, I know there's a lot going on here. So it's very hard for me to talk about faith and spirituality, but I still know my Bible very well. And in Steve's honor, and because of how much this place meant to him, I want to be able to do that in talking about grief, honor, and our own mortality. A quote attributed to Napoleon Bonaparte comes to mind that very much makes me think of who Steve was at heart, that says, "Death is nothing, but to live defeated and inglorious is to die daily." How do we live undefeated and gloriously, knowing that one day death will claim each one of us? The answer is simply to love. The scriptures say at 1 Corinthians 13:13, "But now faith, hope, and love remain, these three, but the greatest of these is love." And yet, most of us hold back our love. We don't give it fully. We don't experience it fully, not as gloriously as we could. We're afraid to be vulnerable, afraid it won't be reciprocated, that we'll be rebuffed, embarrassed, or ashamed if we fully lean into love. But at 1 John 4:18 it says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear expects punishment. The person who is afraid has not been made perfect in love." Another translation renders the same verse this way: "A real love for others will chase those worries away." The thought of being punished is what makes us afraid. It shows we have not really learned to love. Steve understood this. A few days before he passed away, Tony and I took him out to the woods, and Tony asked him for some parting wisdom. What do you think he said? He said, "Just love the hell out of everybody. Don't ever hold back your love." So in managing our grief, confronting our mortality, and honoring our dear friend, colleague, and family member, I ask you to take Steve's parting wisdom with you today truly to heart. Cast aside fear. Be determined to love deeper, more bravely, with more vulnerability, gloriously. Keep working towards being perfected in love. There's nothing else more worth living for.
Dad, this is the perfect place to honor him, but for those of you who know, this is probably the most challenging place for me to honor him. We overcame a lot here together as a family. As I think about the profound impact that my dad has had on my life, words seem inadequate. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet. If he were a song, he sang the whole damn song. He sang it loudly, he sang it proudly, and unapologetically. And he has inspired me to live the exact same way. He taught me how to be a man in the world and how to do it without all the toxic masculinity that keeps men from being real and authentic with themselves and with the people around them. I will forever be grateful for that. He was an amazing father, an amazing husband, an amazing brother, son, teacher, coach, and friend. Sometimes I wish he and I could have grown up together, because we would have been best friends. And I'm pretty sure I would have gotten him in a little bit of trouble. And maybe vice versa, I don't know, you guys could tell me. Growing up with my dad was an absolute blessing. I remember vividly playing all of the sports outside with him as a little boy, even when it was raining, especially when it was raining. Then all of us would go inside, have dinner, hang out together as a family, lounge around on the couch watching television and just cuddling and loving on one another. As an adult, nothing really changed, to be honest. He was my best friend, my workout buddy, my golf buddy. We would watch all the sports together on the TV, and inevitably, he would make the comment, "You see, that's why athletes hate refs," right there. And we would agree. And I'm sure that he is up there in heaven right now, playing his heart out and giving the refs a piece of his mind. When I think back on all the wonderful memories he's given me to lean on, I feel incredibly blessed and charmed to have known him and to have been able to call him Dad. While those memories bring a smile to my face, they're also quite painful in the sense that I know I can't make any more of those with him, at least not in this life. Dad, if you're listening, you will be missed terribly, remembered vividly, honored fiercely. You are my hero, and I will always love you. Thank you.
All right, you guys are definitely in the fourth quarter. Thank you for your patience. It's really hard to summarize and sum up such a big impact, right? Thank you for listening to all of us. On Christmas, my mom gave me this letter that I wrote to my dad when I was a senior in high school. It meant a lot to me that he saved it all of these years, but also I don't think that I could write a better speech today. It must have been that CC education. So I'm going to start by reading it. April 10th, 1998. Daddy, well, today is Good Friday, and we are writing in religion class to someone we love to tell them so. I actually think Good Friday is the perfect day to write to you because we are reflecting on the love Jesus gives to us and all the ways he shows us to live. Well, when I started doing this and relating it to my life, I couldn't help but think of you and Mom. I think this is exactly what you have done for me. You have always loved and supported me, even when I'm a pain in the butt. You teach me not with your words necessarily, but with your example, how to live, love, and be happy. I truly admire and genuinely respect you for all that you are. I am proud to call you my daddy, and I love you. Thank you for always being here for me and loving me for who I am. Thank you for helping me grow into the woman I am today and the person I will be in the future with your love. You're right, Dad. I am a lot like you. And I'm proud I can say that. That truly makes me happy. I love you always and forever. Your baby girl, Carly. In one of my dad's original songs from way back when, called Together in Love, he wrote, well, I try to remember what I used to do, the faded memories of days before you. Our time together is all I see, our life, our love, and our family. These lyrics have been dancing around in my head lately, ringing very true. It really struck me the last few months as he fought to live, to see his grandbabies grow up, that many of the labels he identified with throughout his lifetime, many of them good, simply fell away. The ones that he clung to were husband, dad, papa, brother, and friend. The ones that stuck were rooted in deep love, affection, and connection. I guess I witnessed up close how sometimes the things we think we are, or that other people do,
the things that we spend so much time and energy on, aren't always who we really are at the core of our being. In the end, what matters most is love and connection. It was very clear in my dad's life throughout, especially in the end. I have always admired the love and affection my dad gave to us kids, his grandkids, and my mom. I love how much he showed up for us, rooted for us, and supported us fiercely. Man, I loved his great big hugs. This is the legacy and the model that I will carry forth.
Our time together is all I see. Our life, our love, and our family. And now, Papa was the leader of our band, as you can tell, and his song is in our souls, and we, our family, and all of you out there too, are his living legacy. And he played this song all the time, and now we're gonna play it for him. Feel free to sing along. Let me get a couple more mics though. Thank you for your patience. Okay. Child alone and wild, a cabinet maker's son. His hands were meant for different work, and his heart was known to none. He left his home and went his lone and solitary way, and he gave to me a gift I know I never can repay. Quiet man of music, denied a simpler fate. He tried to be a soldier once, but his music wouldn't wait. He earned his love through discipline, thundering velvet hand. His gentle means of sculpting souls took me years to understand. Tired and his eyes are growing old, but his blood runs through my instrument and his song is in my soul. My life has been a poor attempt to imitate the man. I'm just a living legacy to the leader of the band. Brothers' lives were different, for they heard another call. One went to Chicago and the other to St. Paul. And I'm in Colorado when I'm not in some hotel, living out this life I chose and come to know so well. Thank you for the freedom when it came my time to go.
right, I'd like to invite Mark and Kristen. Thank you.
I don't know about all of you, but that was impressive. Thank you. This reading is called Remember Me by Anthony Dowson, and I can't imagine a better quote or poem that reflects Steve and what he would want for us. Speak of me as you have always done. Remember the good times, laughter, and fun. Share the happy memories we've made. Do not let them wither or fade. I'll be with you in the summer sun, and when the winter's chill has come. I'll be the voice that whispers in the breeze. I'm peaceful now, put your mind at ease. I've rested my eyes and gone to sleep, but memories we've shared are yours to keep. Sometimes our final days may be a test, but remember me when I was at my best. Although things may not be the same, don't be afraid to use my name. Let your sorrow last for just a while. Comfort each other and try to smile. I've lived a life filled with joy and fun. Live on now, make me proud of what you'll become.
Thank you for letting us be a part of this. Steve and his father Don were famous for reciting all kinds of humorous Irish blessings, jokes, and other quotes as toasts, many of which probably shouldn't be repeated, with young ears around especially. We know our last reading today should honor Steve's love of quotes and Irish blessings. So with that, here's an ancient blessing from Ireland. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. We hope to hear from you and share many more anecdotes and memories with you upstairs. Maybe some of you even have heard some of Steve's less appropriate blessings. There will be a video playing as we get upstairs, and then the family is offered an open invitation to the microphone to share our stories together. We know the Halligan family would love to hear from you. Steve wanted a wake with his people coming together for jokes, stories, and laughter. So let's give it to him. We encourage you to stick around. To close this portion of our time together, we'd like to ask Terry Treblehorn and Monsignor Murphy to come up for the closing.
Terry Treblehorn waffled. On all of our behalfs, I'd like to extend gratitude to Sean and Nick and Carly for music again. In a way, it's kind of like Sunday church. There are always open seats in front. You people in general admission, you could have had more comfort over here. I'm not faulting you, I'm just kind of waving that flag. And don't think that you can be the first out because you got the bleachers, which is quicker to the doors. Defer to those seated. After all, this is the gym floor. This is where the real combat goes on. You're just spectators. I need to acknowledge, this is kind of the prayer, this closing prayer, this is the prayer. I need to acknowledge, especially in view of this setting, two individuals. You're not supposed to single people out, but I am. One is Tom Johnson, the basketball coach at Barlow High School. And the other is Todd Nagel, the former basketball coach at Gresham High School. That's a great tribute. And for all the former students and players, that mic is open intentionally. And I hope for everybody that you get a chance to listen. It's a little bit competitive in that environment where we're hosting the reception, but what a resource. And then I need to acknowledge a representative of the Portland Basketball Officials Association who is present. He'll go unnamed for the sake of protecting his personal integrity. But he is here, and we know you are here. That's for you, Steve. So, thank you for your prayerful presence. You've gifted our community, and you're paying tribute to a person who's so much at the core of the community that all we can say is it's reciprocal. So we're thanking him for his part in the reciprocal. I think the clock, also, Catholic education, you notice that the gym has gotten a bit cooler. We turned off the heat at about 11:30, I think, just budget. So body circulation, keep moving, and move from here to the reception, which follows, I think, down that corridor. Back row first, and then you people in general admission after them.
Yes, you are definitely welcome to start leaving. But if you're going to stick around, we are going to play a song that Papa used to say, play and sing all the time, and we would sing it together as a family in karaoke, and we'd walk the streets singing it to passersby and just trying to get a smile out of their faces. So while you're leaving, if you want to stick around, you can pull out the lyrics on your phone. We're going to play American Pie. But go to lunch also.
Long, long time ago, I can still remember how that music used to make me smile. And I knew if I had my chance that I could make those people dance, and maybe they'd be happy for a while. February made me shiver with every paper I delivered. Bad news on the doorstep. I couldn't get one more step. And I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride. But something touched me deep inside the day the music died. So bye-bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, "This'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die." Did you write the book of love, and do you have faith in God above? If the Bible tells you so. Now do you believe in rock and roll? Can music save your mortal soul? can you teach me how to dance real slow? Well, I know that you're in love with him, 'cause I saw you dancing in the gym. We both kicked off your shoes. Man, I dig those rhythm and blues. I walk alone, the teenage Bronco buck with a pink carnation and a pickup truck. But I knew I was out of luck the day the music died. I started singing Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Now for 10 years we've been on our own, and moss grows fat on a rolling stone. But that's not how it used to be. When the jester sang for the king and queen in a coat he borrowed from James Dean, and a voice that came from you and me. Oh, and while the king was looking down, the jester stole his thorny crown. The courtroom was adjourned. No verdict was returned. And while Lenin read a book on Marx, the quartet practiced in the park, and we sang dirges in the dark that day the music died. We were singing Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Helter skelter in the summer swelter, birds flew off with a fallout shelter, 8 miles high and falling fast. Landed foul on the grass, the players tried for a forward pass, but the jester on the sidelines in a cast. Now the halftime air was sweet perfume while sergeants played a marching tune. We all got up to dance, oh, but we never got the chance, 'cause the players tried to take the field. The marching band refused to yield. Do you recall what was revealed the day the music died? We started singing Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Oh, and there we were all in one place, a generation lost in space with no time left to start again. So come on, Jack, be nimble, Jack, be quick. Jack Flash sat on a candlestick, 'cause fire is the devil's only friend. Oh, and as I watched him on the stage, my hands were clenched in fists of rage. No angel born in hell could break that Satan's spell. And as the flames climbed high into the night to light the sacrificial rite, I saw Satan laughing with delight the day the music died. He was singing Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. I met a girl who sang the blues. and I asked her for some happy news, but she just smiled and turned away. I went down to that sacred store where I'd heard the music years before, but the man there said the music wouldn't play. And in the streets the children screamed, the lovers cried, and the poets dreamed, but not a word was spoken. The church bells all were broken, and the three men I admire the most, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, they caught the last train for the coast the day the music died. Sing it. And they were singing, bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Last one. They were singing, bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die. Good singing out there, thank you.
You can play the game and you can act out the part, though you know it wasn't written for you. But tell me, how can you stand there with your broken heart, ashamed of playing the fool? But one thing can lead to another, it doesn't take any sacrifice. Oh, father and mother, sister and brother, if it feels nice, don't think twice. Just shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna work out fine if you only will. Do as I say. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way you feel. Things are gonna be much better if you only will. You can run, but you cannot hide. This is why you know. And what you plan to do with your foolish pride when you're all by yourself alone? Won't you tell somebody the way that you feel? You can feel it beginning to ease. I think it's true what they say about this squeaky wheel, always getting the grease. Better to shower the people you love with love. Yes, and show them the way that you feel. I know things are gonna be just
light. When you walked into my life, now and forever, I'll remember all the promises still unbroken, and think about all the words between us that never needed to be spoken. We had a moment, just one moment, that will last beyond a dream, beyond a lifetime. We are the lucky ones. Some people never get to do all we got to do. Now and forever, I will always think of you. Didn't we come together? Didn't we live together? Didn't we cry together? Didn't we play together? Didn't we love together? And together we lit up the world. I miss the tears, I miss the laughter, I miss the day we met and all that followed after. Sometimes I wish I could always be with you, the way we used to do. Oh, now and forever, I will always think of you. Now and forever, I will always be with you.
Well, I try to remember what I used to do, the faded memories of days before you. Our time together is all I see, our life, our love, and our family. Look at us now, how far we've come, how much we've grown, the years we've known. Together for life, together we share. Thank God above, we're together in love. Our love was small, yet always strong, and it grows and grows as time hurries on. Sometimes are rough, but we'll get by. Our love grows stronger the harder we try. Look at us now, how far we've come, how much we've grown, the years we've known. Together for life, together we share. Thank God above, we're together in love. Our lives are joined in many ways. You are a part of me for all of my days. Our dreams are one, our hopes we share. We build our lives with tender care. Look at us now, how far we've come, how much we've grown, the years we've known. Together for life, together we share. Thank God above, we're together in love. Look at us now, how far we've come, how much we've grown, the years we've known. Together for life, together we share. Thank God above, we're together in love. Thank God above, we're together in love.
Have the best friends that anyone could have. Best friends that anyone could have. And no one can get in the way of that.
He asked her, what gifts can I bring you to prove that my love for you is true? Wanna make you mine forever. There's nothing on this earth I would not do. She said, anything I wanted, you have given willingly. So now there's only one more thing I need. If you love me, give me wings. Don't be afraid if I fly. Bird in a cage will forget how to sing. If you love me, give me wings. He walked over to the window, silently stared into space. He said, I just want to protect you, 'cause this world is a dangerous place. She put her arms around him. She said, I know you mean well, but there's lessons I must learn for myself. If you love me, give me wings. Don't be afraid if I fly. A bird in a cage will forget how to sing. Trust me, give me wings. She said, up above the clouds, you can see forever. And I know you and I can learn to fly together. If you love me, give me wings. Don't be afraid if I fly. Bird in a cage will forget how to sing. Trust me, give me wings if you really love me. Give me wings. Give me
what cancer cannot do. Cancer is so limited. It cannot cripple love. It cannot shatter hope. It cannot corrode faith. It cannot destroy peace. It cannot kill friendship. It cannot suppress memories. It cannot silence courage. It cannot invade the soul. It cannot steal eternal life. It cannot conquer the spirit. Unknown author.
Leonardo da Vinci said of death, "I love those who can smile in trouble, who can gather strength from distress, and grow brave by reflection. 'Tis the business of little minds to shrink, but they whose heart is firm, and whose conscience approves their conduct, will pursue their principles unto death."
I'd like to thank you for the things you've worked to give to me, all the joy and the tenderness you bring. I share with you this gift of mine, a song for the times that bring to life the ties of family, a song to bring together family.